Megan sat in the cold, sterile interrogation room, her eyes glazed over with shock. The events at Ridgewood Manor played on an endless loop in her mind. She was covered in dirt and grime, her clothes torn, and her hair disheveled. Detective Harris and Detective Thompson, seasoned and skeptical, watched her from across the table. "Megan," Detective Harris began, his voice stern, "we need you to tell us what happened at the house." "I've told you everything," Megan whispered, her voice trembling. "The house, it killed them. I didn't." "Enough with the ghost stories," Detective Thompson snapped, slamming a file on the table. "We have evidence that you were the last one seen with every victim." Megan's eyes filled with tears. "Please, you have to believe me. The house is haunted." Despite her protests, the detectives decided to take Megan back to Ridgewood Manor to gather more evidence. They were accompanied by a forensic team and two rookie officers, Carter and Jensen. Megan, handcuffed and pale, was led back into the house that had consumed her family. The front door creaked open, and a cold breeze greeted them. The house seemed to come alive with a low hum, as if it recognized Megan's return. "Let's get this over with," Detective Harris muttered, flashlight in hand. "Carter, Jensen, secure the perimeter. Forensics, start with the basement." As the team spread out, the atmosphere grew tense. Shadows danced along the walls, and whispers seemed to follow them. Megan was left in the living room with Detective Thompson, who watched her closely. "You stay put," he ordered, stepping out to join the others. Megan's heart pounded as she heard faint footsteps. She turned to see Chris Sr. standing in the doorway, his face twisted in a grotesque smile. "Welcome back, darling," he hissed. "No. No. You're dead," Megan stammered, backing away. Suddenly, the lights flickered, and Chris Sr. lunged at her. Megan screamed, her voice echoing through the house. Upstairs, Carter and Jensen were checking the rooms. "This place gives me the creeps," Carter said, shivering. "Yeah, let's just get this done," Jensen replied, opening a door to find Michelle standing there, her eyes hollow. "What the?" Before Jensen could react, Michelle grabbed him, her fingers digging into his skin. "You shouldn't have come back," she whispered. Carter turned, hearing Jensen scream, and saw Michelle dragging his partner into the darkness. He ran down the hall, but a spectral figure, Lamont, emerged from the wall, blocking his path. "Run all you want," Lamont said, his voice cold. "You can't escape." In the basement, the forensic team was gathering samples when the temperature dropped suddenly. Mikey's ghost appeared, his eyes glowing with a vengeful light. "What are you doing in my house?" he growled. One of the forensic techs tried to run, but the ghostly figure of Mickey appeared behind him, a knife floating ominously beside him. "You shouldn't have disturbed us," Mickey said, plunging the spectral knife into the tech's back. The remaining forensics team members scattered, trying to flee the basement, but the spirits of the house were relentless. Andre's ghost emerged, blocking their exit. "None of you will leave," he declared, his voice echoing with anger. The tech screamed as Andre reached out, their bodies crumpling lifelessly to the floor. Upstairs, Detective Harris found Carter trembling in a corner, muttering incoherently. "What happened?" Harris demanded. "They're here. They're all here," Carter sobbed. "We have to leave." Detective Harris turned to find Jensen's lifeless body hanging from the ceiling, his face frozen in terror. "God damn it," he muttered. "Thompson, we need to get out of here now." But as they turned to leave, the door slammed shut, the room grew dark, and the spirits of Chris Sr., Michelle, Lamont, and the others surrounded them. "You can't leave," Chris Sr. said, his voice dripping with malice. Back in the living room, Megan faced the ghostly figure of her husband. "Why are you doing this?" she cried. "You left us," Chris Sr. hissed. "Now you'll join us." Summoning all her courage, Megan grabbed the iron poker from the fireplace and swung it through Chris Sr.'s apparition. He dissipated with a howl, but she knew he wasn't gone for good. She ran through the house, dodging the grasping hands of her ghostly family and friends, searching for a way to end the nightmare. Megan found herself in the attic, where Sky had found the doll. The doll now sat in the center of a ritual circle, its eyes glowing with an eerie light. "This must be it," Megan whispered, stepping into the circle. The ghosts appeared around her, their faces twisted with rage. "You think you can stop us?" Michelle snarled. Megan grabbed the doll and tore it apart, revealing a hidden talisman inside. As she smashed the talisman, the ghosts screamed, their forms flickering. The house fell silent. The spirits were gone, and the oppressive darkness lifted. Megan, exhausted and covered in sweat, collapsed to the floor. Detective Harris, bruised and shaken, helped her up. What the hell just happened? It was the house, Megan said weakly. It was always the house. As they left Ridgewood Manor, the sun began to rise, casting a warm light over the haunted estate. The survivors, Megan, Detective Harris, and a few shaken members of the forensic team, looked back at the house one last time. "We need to seal this place off for good," Harris said, his voice resolute. Megan nodded, finally feeling a sense of peace. "It's over." But as they walked away, Megan glanced back at the attic window. Her blood ran cold as she saw Detective Harris staring back at her from the window, his face twisted in a malicious grin. She quickly turned to the detective walking beside her, and her heart nearly stopped. He was the same as she had seen in the window. "Harris," she whispered, her voice trembling. "What's happening?" Harris turned to her, his face serene and human. "It's over, Megan. Let's go." But Megan knew the truth. The real Harris had never left the house. She was still trapped in its web, surrounded by spirits masquerading as the living. As they walked away, the house stood silently, its dark secrets buried once more, waiting for its next victims. Megan's heart pounded as she realized the nightmare was far from over.